Hello and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 2017 action movie sequel, The Fate of the Furious, which is the 8th installment into the main Fast and Furious franchise. This time directed by another newcomer to the series, but an accomplished director in his own right, Felix Gary Gray. So, now before I get started with this review, I just wanted to give a big shout out to Infobolt, who requested this review a little while ago, and indeed well before I started these reviews as a series. Infobolt is another YouTuber offering some interesting fact-based videos showcasing some little-known and intriguing facts about everyday and random topics. So, if you do have a chance, please do check out their channel. I will leave a link to an Infobolt episode at the end of this review, and I will also place a link to their channel in the video description below. So, as a disclaimer as well, as these films continue to weave their ever more interconnected web, I may give some spoilers for this film and others in this Fast and Furious franchise, of course, so please do switch off now if you don't want to hear any plot details for these films. Please do come back though when you have watched the film and do let me know what you thought. I am always very interested to know what you thought. So, following on from the events of the 6th and the 7th movies, we are introduced to a cyber terrorist by the name of Cypher in this movie, as played by Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron? Who, as it turns out, was behind the events of those two movies, enlisting both Owen Shaw, as played by Luke Evans, in the 6th, and Mose Jakande, as played by, and I couldn't say this when I did that review either, Jimon Hounsou, in the 7th, the guy out of Blood Diamond, in order to obtain the various doomsday devices set up in both of those movies. So, this time around, Cypher is on a mission to coax Dominic Dom Toretto, as played by Vin Diesel, of course, the leader of the team which saw both of Cypher's last plans foiled, coaxed into turning his back on his team and doing Cypher's bidding. So, Dom, he goes against everything that he holds dear. His family, his wife, Letty, as played by Michelle Rodriguez, who just can't accept that Dom has gone rogue. Cypher is looking to bring down the world's major powers to their knees, in fact. The only one team that would have stood in their way? Dom's, of course. But the absence of the leader doesn't stop them from trying, and together they must go up against one of the most feared enemies that they have ever come across. Dom himself, of course. In the end, however, Cypher may have just bitten off a little bit more than she can chew, and indeed may just find out what happens when you prod a hornet's nest. So, now, following the finale of the 7th movie, there wasn't really any need to continue this series further. The 7th rounded everything off, and many elements of the series, when with the sad loss, of course, of Paul Walker during the making of the 7th movie, it did indeed seem like a very fitting place to kind of leave this story. Walker, of course, played Dom's right-hand man, and, of course, surrogate brother, Brian O'Connor, in the franchise. And indeed, this was the very first Fast and Furious movie to actually be filmed without Walker's involvement in any shape or form since the 3rd installment, 2006's Tokyo Drift. However, they did push forward with their plans to make further installments, the premise of which were already established well underway, well before we actually did lose Walker. So they were still carrying on with the plans that they had set in motion. And to be honest, as much as this sequel really wasn't needed, I am sure glad that they did it, it was a welcome return to the explosive, over-the-top, outrageous stunts and action set pieces that we have, that have become so synonymous with this series. And indeed, although, Walker, his absence, it was sorely missed in this. The rest of the cast, they did manage to pull through. And they did give us something that was just simply fantastic popcorn fodder once again. The fact that they dared to make Dom the villain in this one, even if only for a little bit, and indeed, if but a little bit predictable, given that there are other motives that are driving his deception. And indeed, these, of course, do turn out to be family. But indeed, having Dom as the villain this time around was different, if but a darker twist to the usual fare that we've had. It is an uneasy film for a number of respects. And again, given that Dom has to betray his own team, you know, and his inherited family, his motives are pure and readily understandable. But this doesn't make his betrayal any less bittersweet. And after 5 previous films hammering his family mantra, it does kind of make this one hard going in that respect. But I applaud them for daring to give this one a different edge. Having Dom's own team have to come up with ways to go up against Dom himself, and all his cunning and tenacity is excellent. And of course, it makes for some very explosive encounters, you know. For all they do to Dom, this is still Fast and Furious at heart. And this film is absolutely chock full from start to end with action, witty banter, and reality-bending stunts. This time around, we even get to go up against a wrecking ball and a Russian sub. Just to name a few. The action sequences are a sight to behold. You know, you can tell they've really spared no expense. The fight sequences too, they are all extremely well choreographed and very stylized. And there is plenty this time around of kind of that Matrix-esque kind of slow motion close-up shots, getting us right up there close and personal. It is great to see that a lot of familiar faces return. Roman Pierce, as played by Tyrese Gibson. Tej Parker, as played by Chris Ludacris Bridges. Ramsey, as played by Nathalie Emmanuel. Kurt Russell, I can say Kurt Russell, as Mr. Nobody. And even indeed former DSS agent Luke Hobbs and former villain Deckard Shaw, as played by Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, respectively. A few other familiar faces also drop in at some other few choice moments, making this ever more sweet, you know, as we're going along. It really does kind of feel like a family reunion of sorts, and by the time we've got to the end, it most certainly is. We even get to see one of Dom's Cuban cousins. It does, however, feel sometimes, this instance, that it was like trying too hard to kind of act as the prelude to Hobbs and Shaw. I mean, their showdowns in this were fantastic. They were great, fantastic set pieces throughout the film, and they were very entertaining and really great fun, you know. They had this great chemistry as rivals, with just that kind of little spark, you know, for that potential future team-up. As, of course, we do get in the next movie along the line. But with Dom out of the picture, it really did feel very much like it was their show this time around. And sometimes perhaps a little bit too saturated, you know? Unlike some of the previous entries, it did kind of start to feel like some of the titans here were now starting to vie for that top dog spot. For me, however, the film does mark the entry of one of the series' most delectable and indeed, I would say, truly terrifying villain that we've had in this series so far. Now, indeed, we have a villain worthy of the series at this moment in time. Cold, ruthless and unforgiving. And I don't mean Dom this time round, no. What I mean is, I don't mean Charlize Theron. I'm going to say Charlize Theron. Portrayal of Cypher. Theron, you know, brings a villain that will stop at nothing to get what she wants. Meticulous, methodical, planned, targeted and malicious, you know. This time around, we have a villain who's more than just kind of a lacking presence in the movie, just for name's sake, you know. Cypher takes this installment to a place that's kind of unexpected, I think. It's darker than the others, and it goes somewhere where the others have kind of feared to tread this time around. Perhaps not as graphically presented as we shall say, maybe. So basically, overall, it cements Cypher as one cold and heartless. Overall, as much as this film may not have been required, and whilst I don't think it's the best in the series, it is still absolutely entertaining, thrilling, exciting, and totally off its head, you know? It is still tremendous fun, bringing us yet another wacky plot and non-stop action. The 7th installment seemed like a good place to end things for me, you know, for sure, you know. But that I can't deny. But this movie still carried on the legacy in their most outlandish but best way possible, you know. Some of the action sequences in this are absolutely unreal, but relentless and extremely well presented. I was definitely thoroughly satisfied by the end, you know, and that they had packed that much in, with kind of lots of delectable twists and turns for Fast and Furious, and more than just a few kind of, you know, tense face-offs. This is flashy, fast, and, you know, oh, so fun, you know. It is certainly 2.5, well, 2.5, I think it was 2 and a bit hours well spent, you know, definitely. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Definitely loved having here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and definitely love to have you back. But most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.